Title 3, Ensuring Communications Inoperability for the First Responders. Section 301, Inoperability Emergency Communication Grant of the Program. A. Establishment of Title 18 Homeland Security Act of 2002, 6 United States Code of 571. Intent sequence is amended by adding at the end of the following in the new section. 6 United States Codes 579, Section 1809, Inoperability Emergency Communication Grant Program. A. The establishment of the security shall establish the Inoperability Emergency Communications Grant Program to make the grants to state carry out the initiatives to improve local, tribal, statewide, regional, national, and where appropriate international inoperable emergency communications, including communications in collective responsive of natural disasters, acts of terrorism, other man-made disasters. Policy, the Director of Emergency Communications to ensure the grant awarded for the state under the section of the consistent with the policies established pursuant of the responders and authorities of establishing or offices of emergency communications under the title, including ensuring the activities funded by the grant. 1. To comply the statewide plan with the state required by the subsection or Section 7303 of the Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, 6 United States Code 194. And to comply with the National Emergency Communication Plans under Section 1802 when completed. Administration in general, the administration of the Federal Emergency Management Agency shall administrate an Inoperability Emergency Communication Grant Program pursuant to the responsibility authorities administration under Title 5 of the Act. 2. The guidance and administration of the grant program. The administrator shall ensure the use of grants and consistent with grant guidance established by the Director of Emergency Grants under the pursuant of 7303A1H and the Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, 6 United States Code 194A1H. Use of funds. D. The state receives the grant under this section shall use the grant implementation of the state-wide inoperability plan required for the Section 7303F and Intelligent Reform Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, 6 United States Code 194F, and approved for the subsection CE, and to assist the activities determined in the Secretary to integral and operability of emergency communications. E. Approval of plans. 1. Approval for conditions of grant before the state may receive a grant under this section. The Director of Emergency Communications shall approve the statewide inoperability communications required under this section. Public Law 11053, August 3rd, 2007, 121 Stat 977303F, and Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, 6 United States Code 194F. Plan requirements. If approving for the plan under the subsection, Director of Emergency Communications shall ensure the plan A is designated to improve inoperability at city, county, range, state, interstate level. B. Consider the applicable local regional plan. C. It complies with maximum extent practicable national emergency communication plans under the section 802. 3. Approval of revisions. The Director of the Emergency Communications may approve the revisions of the state plans of the Director determines that doing so is likely further inoperable. The limitations used in funding in general, the recipient of the grant under the section may not use the grant to supplement the state and local funds and for any state of the local grant and cost sharing and contribution. C. For the recreational and social purposes. 2. The penalties. In addition, with the remedies currently available for Secretary may take such actions as necessary, assuring recipient grants funds as used in funds for purposes for which they were intended, e.g. the limitations of award and grants National Emergency Communication Plan required. The Secretary may not award the grant under this section at the date of the Secretary completes and submits in Congress National Emergency Communications and Plan required under the Section 802 Voluntary Consensus Standards. The Secretary may not award the grant under the section with the purchase of equipment that does not meet applicable voluntary consensus standards unless the state demonstrates that there are compelling reasons for such purposes. H. The award of grants and approving of applications awarded with the grants under this section, the Secretary shall consider 1. The risk proposed to each of the state national disasters, active terrorism, other man-made disasters, including a likelihood the jurisdiction within the state to respond to such risk in nearby jurisdiction. B. The degree of the threat, vulnerability, and consequences relating to critical infrastructure from all critical infrastructure sectors, key resources included Administrator State of Homeland Security Emergency Management Program, including threats to the vulnerability, consequences of the damage to critical infrastructure, key resources in nearby jurisdictions. See the size of population, density population of the state, including appropriated consideration of the military, tourist, commuter populations. D, whether the state is in or near an international border. E, whether the state encompasses an economically significant border crossing, whether the state has a coastal line bordering an ocean major waterway used in interstate commerce and international waters. 2, the anticipated effectiveness of the state proposed of the grant funds in improving operability, opportuning the amended applications in consideration of the application for the grants under this section of the administration shall provide applications for reasonable opportunity to correct the defects of the application of any one of the making finally awards. 1. The minimum grants amounts. States awarding the grants under the section of the Secretary shall ensure that each fiscal year except as provided in paragraph 2, no state receives the grant in any amount that is less than the following percentage of the total amount of the appropriated grants under this section for fiscal year. For the fiscal year of 2008, 0.50%. For the fiscal years of 2009, 0.50%. For the fiscal year of 2010, 0.45%. For the fiscal year of 2011, 0.40%. The fiscal year of 2012 and subsequently fiscal year of 0.35%. Territories and possessions. In awarding grants under this section, the Secretary shall ensure that each of the fiscal years of American Samoan, Commonwealth of Norman, Marina Islands, Guam, Virgin Islands, and each receive grants in amounts that are not less than 0.08% of the total amount appropriated for the grants under this section of the fiscal years. K. The certification each state receives the grants under the subsection that shall certify is used in the purpose in which the fund is intended for the compliance within the states approved for the statewide interoperable communications plan. State responsibility deadline. The availability of the funds to local and tribal governments no later than 45 days after receiving the grants of funds that any of the states receives the grants under the section shall obligate otherwise make available to local tribal governments not less than 80% of the grant foods. B, within the consent of local and tribal governments eligible to expenditure having value of not less than 80% of the amount of grants. C, the grants of the fund combined with other expenditure having total value or not less than 80% of the amount of grant. 2. Allocations of the fund. A state shall receive a grant under the section that shall allocate the grants funded in total government in states to assist the tribal communities in improving interoperability communications in a manner consistent with the statewide interoperability communications plans. The state may not impose unreasonable, undue burdensome requirements of the tribal government as a condition of providing grant and funds of resources to tribal government. C. 3. The penalties the state violates the requirements of subsection. In addition, to other remedies availabilities to the Public 11053, August 3rd, 207, 121, Stat 299, Secretary and the Secretary may terminate or reduce the amount of the grant awarded to the state, transfer grant funds previously awarded for the state directly into the appropriate local and tribal governments, and the reports. 1. Annual reports of the state grant recipients. The state receives a grant under the section shall annually to the Director of Emergency Communications a report of the progress of the state implementation of the statewide interoperable communication plans required to the section 7303 of Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention of Act 2004, 6 United States Code 19F, in achieving the interoperability of the city, county, regional, state, interstate levels, and the Director shall make reports publicly available, including the public information that making available for the internet websites of the Office of Emergency Communications is subject to any redactions that directly determinates and necessary to protect classified other sensitive information. Annual reports to Congress, at least one each of the Director of Emergency Communications shall submit to Congress a report of the use of grants awarded under the section and any progress implementation statewide interoperable communication plans improving interoperability as a city, county, regional, state, interstate level as a result awarded of such grants. And the rule of construction. Nothing in this section shall be constructed and interpreted to preclude the state from using a grant awarded for the section of the interim and long-term internet protocol-based and operable solutions. O. The authorization appropriations authorizes appropriated for the grants under this section for the fiscal year of 2008, such as may be necessary for each year, each fiscal year of 2009-2012, 400 million for each subsequent fiscal year, as many as necessary. B. The clerical amendment to the table of contents under section 1B of the sub act, amended and inserting the item relating to the section 18008 of the following section 809 inoperable emergency communications grant program. The interoperable communication plans. Interoperable Communication Plan, Section 303 of the Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, 6 United States Code 194 is amended in subsection F of the paragraph 4 of the striking and at the end, B in paragraph I of striking at the end and the end, inserting the semicolon and ending the following, including information governance structure used to develop, including the information all agency organizations participated developing and planning and scope, time framing and plan of the plan. Describe the method of the multi-jurisdictional, multidisciplinary, and is approved from all regions of jurisdiction, including the high-threat urban area, as located in jurisdiction, and the process can continue to incorporate such as input to in subject G1 and striking or video insertion and video. D. The National Emergency Communication Plan in Section 6 United States Code 572-802, the Homeland Security Act of 202, 6 United States Code 65-2. C is amended. It's in paragraph D of the striking at the end and 2 in paragraph 9 of the striking period at the end and inserting at the end, and B, the ending of the following. Then a set date, including the benchmarks appropriate for the state, local, tribal governments, federal departments, agencies, emergency response providers, except for to achieve the baseline level to national interoperable communication terms deferred in section 7303G1 of the Intelligence Reform Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, 6 United States Code 194G1. Section 302 in Border Interoperability and Demonstration Project in general, the Title 18 of Homeland Security Act of Section 202, 6 United States Code 571, intent sequence is amended and adding to the end of the following of the new section 6 United States Code 580 in Sect 1810 Modern Interoperability Demonstration Project. A. In general in establishment, the Secretary through the Director of the Office of Emergency Communications referred to in this section as the Director in coordination with the Federal Communication Commission, the Secretary of Commerce shall establish an international border of communication interoperable communication demonstrate project referred for the section of the demonstration project. Minimum number of communities. The Director shall select no fewer than 6 communities to participate in the demonstration project. Location communities. No fewer than 3 of the communities selected as in paragraph 2 shall be located in the northern border of the United States. No fewer than 3 of the communities selected in the paragraph 2 shall be located in the southern border of the United States. B. The conditions the Director is coordinated Federal Communication Commission Secretary of Commerce shall ensure the project carried out as soon as adequate spectrum available as a result of the 800 megahertz rebanding process in border areas shall ensure that the water protection does not impede in replanting rebanding process. Under no circumstances shall their funds be distributed under the section unless the Federal Communication Commission Secretary of Commerce agree that the conditions have been met. Canada and Mexico program requirements consistent with the responsibility of Office in Emergency Communications under the Section 801. The Director shall foster local, tribal, state, federal, and operable emergency communications as well as inoperable emergency communications with appropriate Canadian, Mexican, and authority communications selected to demonstrate the project, and the Director shall 1. Identify solutions and facilitate inoperable communications across national wards. Expeditious help ensuring emergency response providers can communicate with each of the event and national disasters, acts of terrorism, other than man-made disasters. 3. To provide the technical assistance to enable emergencies responders providers to deal with threats, contingencies, variety environments, and 4. And inappropriate identify appropriate joint use of equipment to ensure communication and access, and identify solutions to facilitate communications between emergency response providers and communities of differing population densities, and 6 to to take other actions or provide of equipment director deems appropriate to foster an operable emergency communications. D, the distribution of the funds. 1. In general, the Secretary distribution of the funds section of the committee participating demonstration project of the state or states in which end of the community is located. Other participations of states shall make funds available for promptly local, tribal government, and emergency response providers selected of the Secretary and participate demonstration project. 3. The report no later than 90 days if the state receives the funds under the section shall report to the directors the status distribution of such funds of local tribal governments. 3. The maximum period of grants. The director may not found any participate in the demonstration project for no more than 3 years. F. The transportation of information and knowledge. Director shall establish mechanisms to ensure the information, knowledge, and gain participation of demonstration project transferred and participation to other interested parties, including the community, submitted an application to the participation in the project. G. Authorization of the appropriations. If there is authorized to be appropriated for the grants under the section, sums as may be necessary. B. Clerical amendment. The table of contents of section 1B of this act amended, inserting in the item relating to section 809 in the following. Section 810, border inoperability demonstration of the project. Title 4, strengthening the use of incident command system.